December 4th, 1872. The middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The crew of the British ship Dei Gratia spots a vessel on the horizon. Something about her is wrong. Her sails are torn and set at odd angles. She's moving, but drifting, wandering, like a ship with no hand on the wheel. They signal her. No answer. A boarding party rows across. They climb aboard and find a ship in working order. Food in the storeroom for 6 months. Cargo secure in the hold. The crew's belongings in their quarters. Oilskin boots, pipes, unmade beds, and not one living soul. The captain, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and 7 crewmen gone. The only thing missing with them, a single small lifeboat. The ship had been sailing herself for 9 days. No one aboard the Mary Celeste was ever seen again. This is Obscura Files. Every episode, one case, the facts, the theories, and a verdict. File number 5. Opened December 1872 at the British Admiralty Court in Gibraltar, where the investigators' first theory was murder. They were wrong, but what actually happened may be stranger. Here's what we know for certain. The Mary Celeste left New York on November 7th, bound for Genoa, Italy. Her captain was Benjamin Briggs, 37 years old, respected, experienced, and famously careful. He brought his wife, Sarah, and their small daughter, Sophia. The crew of 7 were seasoned sailors with clean records. This was not a ship of drunks and drifters. Her cargo, 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, raw spirit for fortifying wine, volatile, flammable, worth a fortune. 8 days later, the Dei Gratia left New York on a similar route. Her captain, David Morehouse, knew Briggs personally. They are said to have dined together before departure. Remember that detail. A court in Gibraltar certainly did. Now, what the boarding party actually found, because a century of legend has decorated this scene with warm meals on the table and tea still steaming. The real inventory is stranger than the myth. The ship was seaworthy, 3.5 feet of water in the hold. Sounds dramatic, but for a working ship of that era, manageable. The pumps worked. One was found disassembled, as if someone had been inspecting it. 2 hatch covers were off, lying on the deck. The captain's navigation instruments, sextant and chronometer, were missing. Taken. The ship's papers, gone. The lifeboat, gone. Launched deliberately, not torn away. And a rope, the main peak halyard, was found frayed and trailing in the sea behind the ship. The last entry in the ship's log was dated November 25th, 9 days before discovery, placing her near the Azores island of Santa Maria. Nothing in the log hints at trouble. In the hold, when the cargo was finally unloaded in Genoa, 9 of the 1,700 barrels were empty, dry, and all 9 were made of red oak, a wood porous enough to let alcohol seep and evaporate, while the rest were white oak and sealed tight. The Gibraltar court investigated for 3 months. The Attorney General, Frederick Solly Flood, was convinced of foul play, mutiny, murder, or conspiracy between the 2 captains for the salvage money. He found stains he called blood. Testing showed they were not. He found marks he called axe wounds on the bow. Surveyors showed they were the sea's work. The court found no evidence of violence, paid the Dei Gratia a suspiciously small salvage award, and closed the file with no explanation at all. 150 years of theories. Let's test the 3 serious ones. Theory 1, crime, mutiny, piracy, or the two captains in conspiracy, the court's favorite, and the evidence killed it in court. The crew's sea chests were still aboard. Mutineers take their belongings. Nothing was stolen. Pirates do not leave a fortune in cargo, and the crew's pipes untouched. And the conspiracy theory dies on arithmetic. The salvage award was a fraction of the cargo's value. Morehouse gained almost nothing and risked the gallows. No serious historian holds this theory today. Theory 2. The alcohol. 1,700 barrels of raw spirit breathing in a closed hold for a month. 9 barrels worth of vapor with nowhere to go. In this theory, something, a spark from friction, a change in temperature as the ship passed the warm Azores, caused a violent rush of fumes, perhaps a hiss from the hold, perhaps a small blast that lifted the hatches without leaving a burn mark. Modern experiments have shown exactly this is possible. An alcohol vapor explosion dramatic enough to terrify, gentle enough to leave no scorch. Briggs, a careful man sitting on a floating bomb with his wife and baby daughter, orders everyone into the lifeboat, tied to the ship by the halyard, intending to wait at a safe distance and reboard when the danger passed. Then the rope, the one found frayed and trailing, breaks. Theory 3. The sounding rod, a quieter version of the same ending. The disassembled pump suggests trouble measuring the water in the hold. If the pump was clogged and the sounding rod gave a false reading, showing the ship flooding when she was not, a careful captain near land would do the rational thing, abandon a sinking ship. Except she was not sinking. The islands were close. The lifeboat aimed for them, and the Atlantic did the rest. Both theories end in the same small boat. 10 people, one of them a child, watching the unsinkable ship sail away without them. So here is the verdict. The most likely story, based on the evidence. There was no monster and no murder. There was a captain who did everything right. The empty red oak barrels, the open hatches, the missing instruments, taken because navigation would be needed. The deliberately launched boat, the frayed rope. Every physical clue points to a controlled, temporary evacuation, tethered to the ship, meant to last an hour. The sea untied the knot. What makes the Mary Celeste unbearable is not mystery. It is proximity. They were feet from the ship, then yards. Then the horizon took her, provisioned for 6 months, seaworthy, safe, while the only unsafe place in 1,000 miles of ocean was the little boat they were sitting in. Speculation? The last log entry placed them within sight of an island. Perhaps they rowed for it, and the current said no. Perhaps, for a while, they could see both salvations at once, the island and the ship, each drifting out of reach at its own speed. The Mary Celeste herself sailed on for 13 more years, passed from owner to owner, whispered about in every port, until her final captain deliberately wrecked her on a reef for insurance money. Even then, she refused to sink. File number 5 remains open. Next file. 129 men sail into the Arctic ice with the best technology of the empire. Not one comes back. And the people who knew what happened were ignored for a century because of who they were. File number 6. The Franklin Expedition. This is Obscura Files.